Um, so if anybody wants to send me a message on chat, please feel free. I'll get back to you as much as I can, and we'll get on with this week's broadcast. So yeah, really, I'm just picking straight up from where we were last week with our intercessors. As I said after last week's episode, let me move some of this out of the way. I just finished the washers on this. So basically, we've built our Marines' main sort of torso. I've given it a wash with the Nuln Oil. Next thing to do will be to start painting on the light colour now over the top of that for the power armour. But before we do that, I'm going to stick on the my audio, and hopefully we can have some tunes on as we snip these sprues. Unless we there we go. So hopefully you guys can actually hear that, which would be great. So I'm going to be doing rust grey for my armour. Let's give that pot a good old shake up. Starting to get a bit low of this now, so might be taking a trip soon to old GW store. Get me a bit more. So let's get a good dollop of this out now into my palette here, and I'm just going to water this down just a little bit. Oh, hey, God Zombie, how you doing, dude? Okay. If you're talking, you can't hear me. Can you hear me now? I'm just trying to talk a bit now. Oh, turn the music down. There we go. Can you hear my voice now? Hello. Let me see. Brilliant. I think we've got a bit of lag between when I'm speaking and when it's actually showing on screen, so apologies about that. Anyway. So what I find, I mean, it may seem a little bit odd to paint these miniatures, to give them the wash and then to paint over them, but what I find is that a lot of if you do it lightly enough, you can actually get a lot of the armour painted and still leave that recessed shade in. Also using the rust grey, it's actually a layer paint, so it's a bit more see-through, what do you call it, translucent than citadel base paint. So as it dries, it will let just those sort of darker areas of the miniature show through. And I've just found over the years that this is just a quick way to get a bit of a head start. There's not a lot of shortcuts in in painting 40k miniatures, but yeah, this is one which I found does actually work. So I'm it's not going to be a perfect coverage first coat. This will definitely need 2 coats. Yeah, when I was first started painting miniatures, I used to use the tiniest brush, and I still do have some really tiny brushes, but very, very rarely use them these days. So yeah, I use them for when I'm painting in faces and stuff. But what I've found is that you use a larger brush, you get a bit more paint on there, you can get a bit more coverage, and for these early coats, what we're after is a good even coverage of the whole miniature, not just a small area. So yeah, the music's a bit different this week. I got into a bit of trouble last week on the stream because even though I was using a Spotify playlist that said royalty free, YouTube picked me up for saying that there was royalty claims on the tracks, so I've been sort of progressively editing them out. I think there's only one track which was picked out by Twitch. So anyway, so I've downloaded a load of what I believe is royalty-free music. So it's all instrumental stuff, bit eclectic, bit less emo than what we had last week, which is fine. Yeah, we'll see. So as that's drying, it's leaving a lot of that. Got a nice sort of shade and detail, and we'll give these a couple of coats. if you've watched my YouTube video that I've done on Space Marine Outriders, I covered over painting their Space Wolf armour in quite a lot of detail on that video, so feel free after the stream to go and look at that if you want to sort of see the whole process, sort of in a quick, well, I say quick, it's, yeah, in one sitting. I think I said last week, I absolutely hate the building process. Putting together the miniatures, that's my probably least favourite part. It just really frustrates me. The flip side of that is that doing the base coating like this is probably one of my favourite parts, because you just see the miniature coming together very quickly. You see all those details suddenly start to jump out, and you know, even more when when you're doing the fine detailing, it just takes it takes a long time, and you really sort of focus and concentrate over one bit, which is fantastic at the end of it. But I just like to see the model just in this stage just suddenly sort of jumping together. Let's paint. I'm not going into a lot of painting here in the neck joints. I just want to give a little bit of sort of a dusting in there. You can see as these are drying, they're starting to give that detail quite nicely. Are we still going, or has my stream frozen? Hang on. Oh, I think my webcam stopped there. Let's see if I can get the camera starting. Having a few technical issues again today, but never mind. Definitely got no blue light on the webcam. So let's see. Let's restart this. Ah, that's better. Even if the camera stops, I should still be getting the chat through, so let's just paint striding on here a bit. So yeah, so if it does stop, just give me a shout on the chat. I've not got the, I've only got very sort of basic gear here, so I'm just using like a Logitech webcam with my Lenovo laptop, but so it's not like I've got sort of high-end gear, but hopefully it's you're able to see enough of what I'm doing. I'm still fairly new to all this sort of painting videos online. It was, like I say, it was the sort of lockdown here in the UK that got me back into the hobby again, just really looking for things to do, trying to stave off the madness. And yeah, I found it was a load of other sort of YouTube videos and stuff that really helped me get back into the hobby again. Found it all really sort of encouraging. Some absolutely superb painters out there on YouTube, and I think probably some of the biggest influences for me was Midwinter Minis. I think Guy's videos were what really sort of got me back in big time into the hobby, and also Goobertown. You know, a lot of things get banded around as saying like, yeah, the sort of the Bob Ross, this painter or that painter's the Bob Ross of miniature painting. Well, what I like about Goobertown is his sort of philosophies on life and everything. You know, it really does remind me of those sort of classic days watching Bob Ross back when I was growing up, and just the pure joy of painting. And yeah, Brent always seems to have that joy with the hobby. You know, it's almost like it's his first time with it, and you know, it's really really nice to see that enthusiasm. Okay. Okay, let's get a bit more painting. I really am going to need a bit more of this this rust grey the way it's going. tend to use a cheap brush just to load my palette up rather than using my my main brushes. That way, if I end up with particles of paint and stuff getting all the way up to the top, then you know it's not gonna. I don't mind if it gets if the brush gets ruined. Oh, way too wet. And that is how not to put paint on. So first of all, it's too wet, and there's too much on my brush. Now, if that happens to you, no panic with it. First thing to do, we can either use a dry brush or even just a bit of kitchen roll to pull some of that excess paint off before it dries. These things tend to happen now and again. And all I'm going to do is add just a bit more paint in. To see how it goes. Oh, hey there. So you're getting a lot of lag on this, I can see. Right, let me see what I can do. Like I said, it was a new bit of software that I'm trying out this week. Yeah, I'm not sure whether it's my laptop or the software itself. So let me see if I can get that cleared up a bit. I must admit, my laptop seems to have been pretty laggy all week. I wonder now if I kill Chrome. Okay, let's see if that can speed things up a little bit. Stop downloading videos of Elder. Yeah, no Elder videos on there. Actually, you know what? In all the years of it, all the years that I've been doing this, I've never actually painted an Elder. Oh. Okay, let me see what we can do. So it says here my stream is experiencing minor issues. Oh, stream quality is good, so hopefully that's sorted it out. I don't know how it's looking for you guys now. No, experiencing issues again. Okay. My broadband isn't the fastest, unfortunately. Hopefully this will be watchable. Apologise if it's not. The stream will be available on YouTube and Twitch anyway for a few weeks at least. So So yeah, you can revisit it if you need to, if you're not able to watch it live. Still laggy? Oh, right. Let me. So, what sort of models do you normally paint? What's your sort of 40k army of choice? Ah, brilliant. Let's see what I can do about this. Right, this is where I completely break the whole stream now, but let's move that around. Video's laggy, but the audio's fine. Huh. Cheers, God Zombie. I'm just gonna try and see if I can increase this stream a bit better, so just bear with me, guys. Somewhere back here I've got a point beneath an S, so I'm going to attempt to connect the network card on this directly to my router and see if that speeds things up. Okay. Used to collect. Oh, Blood Angels were cool. Man, yeah, I've not done anything with Blood Angels for years. But yeah, some of the lore, the new Codex Blood Angels. Is it Codex Blood Angels? It's just come out. The sort of updated lore about the Blood Angels and some of the successor chapters. Absolutely awesome. Yeah, I used to play. Well, used to do Blood Angels with the original Space Hulk. They were sort of Blood Angel Terminators. But I must admit, I never actually fielded a force of Blood Angels in 40k. Cool. Right, is the video any better now? I've sort of moved around a bit how I've got it all wired in. Yeah, as far as chapters, I'd still love to do a pre-heresy campaign and actually have Emperor's Children and field them almost, field them in their sort of pre-heresy with a move to try to sort of perfection on battle strategy and stuff. I think that'd be really cool, and I don't know if that's something GW will ever do, actually allow put out rules for sort of pre-heresy forces and have almost like a Great Crusade set of Warhammer. I know Forge World have the Horus Heresy rules for tabletop, but again, I've never actually had a go at those, so I'm quite interested to know what they're like. So, brilliant, got it cracked. Well, you know, I'm new to this whole sort of streaming thing, as I said at the beginning of the video, so I'm still just trying to get used to it, find out what works, what doesn't work. So first few of these are likely to be a little bit iffy, but you know, if you'll bear with me through the early days, I'm sure they'll be better to come. So I tried to use Play-Doh to put this in because I was massively running out of blue tack, and it seems like although the Play-Doh has worked well on on holding them in, it's dried into absolute concrete. So let's try and get these shoulder pads. We're probably going to need a couple of coats. Yeah, I think, as I said before, my sort of primary force that I field these days, as far as Space Marines go, are the Wolves, and quite sort of specifically, I like Ragnar Blackmane's great company. Some oh crikey, that's loud. Let's turn that down a bit. Okay. Yeah, there are 30k rules. They're the Forge World do a Horus Heresy set. Yeah, so Ragnar Blackmane, quite interesting. It's been in the 40k universe for quite a while and built up quite a lot of lore, and I really liked what happened during the Psychic Awakening series middle of last year, with his battle with let's see if I could get this right, with Ghazghkull Tharaka, where both of them suffered terminal wounds, and the only way to save Ragnar was to send him through the Rubicon to become Primaris, and the only way to save Ghazghkull was to absolutely upgrade his body as a mech. And the new models that came out in the, I don't know what the box is called, Prophecy of the Wolf box set, and I think you can now buy them standalone. They're absolutely amazing. So I certainly intend, once I feel that my painting is up to a reasonable standard, I'll actually have a go at the Ragnar model. I tend not to field him when I play because, as I was saying last week, I like to play the New Crusade rules, and it sort of feels a little bit pointless using named characters in Crusade rules, so I haven't actually used Ragnar as a named character in a battle yet, so I'm not quite sure how the new Primaris rules for him will perform. But it would certainly be a lot of fun to try out. And at the moment I'm just on sort of 25 power rating, sort of 500 point battles with the Crusade stuff. What I want to get to, love to have a crack at the getting a nice sort of 2000 point, 200 power battle up and running of orcs versus wolves. Field Gazkull, field some, yeah, Phil Ragnar. I think that'll be a pretty awesome battle. So I must admit, one thing I'm really excited for at the moment is the new Death Guard Codex. The well, it's not actually out tomorrow, but the pre-orders are there tomorrow, so I'm going to be getting my orders straight in. Death Guard's another one of those forces that I've loved ever since sort of playing the original Space Marine and Adeptus Titanicus epic games back in the late 80s, early 90s. And yeah, all the fun that you have with Nurgle. I think of all the Chaos Gods, Nurgle is the one which I sort of enjoy most. They're just, yeah, all those little Nurglings running around looking happy and joyful, spreading disease and plague wherever they go, but doing it with such joy. You know, it's like, well, to be honest, I wouldn't mind having that amount of joy if I was in a Chaos Force, so Nurgle would be the one I'd probably go for. Yeah, I've got a smallish, sort of smallish Death Guard force, which, yeah, with the No Fear starting set from 8th edition, some old Plague Marines from many years back and stuff. But yeah, I really want to look at building it up a bit more. The one thing that I'm not overly impressed with, I don't know what you guys think if you've seen the pre-release photos for the Combat Patrol Death Guard, but apart from getting a couple of new HQ units in there, and when I say new HQ units, so it's the same Typhus model, there's the new I forget what it's called now, Biologicus Putris whatever, and some nice looking multi-pose Plague Marines. It just seems to be 9, is it 9 or even, yeah, 9 Marine models of various sizes and 30 Poxwalkers. Now, I'm all for having a nice zombie set, you know, a nice sort of zombie set, but seriously, if I'm paying 80 quid for a combat patrol sized force, I would have at least liked to see a Mythic Blight Hauler in there, or some, you know, some of the other Nurgle War engines. So yeah, a bit undecided yet whether I think that's a good move or a bad move. Don't know what your thoughts are, if you've had a look at that box set yet or not. Really starting to get there now with these shoulder pads. So yeah, as well as Marines, the other Death Guard, the other army that I really do collect, Necrons. Which I started building up. So I got the Indomitors set, as you know, on my YouTube channel, going through painting all of that, and really, really enjoying painting Necrons. I remember looking at the lore and stuff of them a while back and not thinking that much, but I've been doing quite a lot of reading at the moment of things like the War in Heaven and, you know, some of the fandom sites which have pulled all that info together, which is quite good fun. Would be nice to see that. Well, there's some really tasty models actually in the new release. I really want to get the Void Dragon, the Satan Shard of the Void Dragon. That just looks like so much fun to paint that model. So yeah, I might even start that as a project once we've got through the Combat Patrol set. And at the speed I paint, you can expect to see that sometime around Christmas 2022. Hang on, same tune again. Let's skip on. Second coat of the rust grey. If I can work out what I've done my brush, that's what we're after. Yeah. See that shading's really sort of stayed. So doing that wash early in the process has made sort of quite a difference. Will make shading a much faster job, as long as I don't swamp the swamp the whole miniature in paint now. I'll just give it a very sort of basic bit of what do you call it? Yeah, recess shading. Really just to pick out just the bits that I have covered up again. I think, as I said at the start of this, I'm no speed painter, and I'm certainly no golden demon painter. I'm just a boomer with a hobby. So hope you're enjoying this. Don't know if you guys are painting along. If anyone's still painting. Cool, be nice if we can get through. Where are we now? 8 o'clock. So once I've done this, I think I'll go in, crack out the old Abaddon black. Abaddon? Yeah, Abaddon. Now there's the argument. Is it Abaddon or is it Abaddon? I heard some very, very good arguments both ways. I've always said Abaddon, and will probably always say that. I don't know whether there's copyright issues or what. I know certainly some of GW's names are subtly changed for the old copyright, but so what I'm aiming at getting here isn't again, it isn't sort of a perfect coverage, but it's just getting a really nice, smooth layer. I like, my sort of Sons of Rust to just have that battle worn, the armor's well maintained, but it's still scuffed up from combat, and I don't know, I can't see Space Wolves. I can see them taking care of their armor and the bits that are important to them, all the little runes and stuff on there, kept absolutely polished up, but I don't know, I'm reading Burning a Prospero at the moment, the Horus Heresy novel, and it just gives such an insight into sort of pre-Codex Space Wolves, and absolutely love the way that they have their rituals, the way that they see their use of warp power, or the weird as they call it, and how they can justify being so against what Magnus was doing with his Thousand Sons, but yet have so much entrenched superstition and sort of arcane knowledge that they and arcane rites that they went through. So yeah, it's very, very interesting. Does sometimes lead me to think that they're a little hypocritical, but they were created by the Emperor for a purpose, and that purpose seems to be making sure that the other legions are kept in check. There's certainly strong hints within the Heresy books that the Space Wolves were involved in the exterminatus of the two missing Space Marine legions. So yeah, 20 legions created, 20 Primarchs, but only 18 actually are mentioned, and yeah, the two missing legions are the ones which were obviously something cracked off, some big argument with them and the Emperor, and considering that Horus plunged the entire galaxy into civil war, let's get the right paint. There's no mention of what they actually did that meant that they needed erasing from the whole, not just from the campaign books and stuff, but actually from the whole history on Terra. Yeah, you gotta wonder, what they were doing. back to our old blood angels, you know, they'll sit there and drink the blood of their sort of enemies post-battle, and that's okay, you know, a little bit of rage and cannibalism seems to be fine, but yeah, whatever those 2 missing legions did, goodness me, must have been bad. Right, let's see now, is that... I'll try and make sure I've not made this too thin again. Yeah, a little bit too thin. Oh, come on, Vic. You can do this. Right. No, almost out of rust grey. Let's see, I should have just enough to finish this off. And yeah, that's better. Right, you go there. That's better. Much better consistency. God, I've really clogged this guy up. So yeah, that's a problem here. Paint doesn't go on, goes on too wet, it clogs everything up. Paint goes on too thick, it clogs everything up. Anyway. See, I'm starting to put more paint on than I was at the start, and I'm starting to rush it a bit now because I just want to get it done, and that's always a danger point. Well, let's just do inside the little neck cuffs of all of these. I will go back later on and just edge highlight this, and I'm almost certain to make mistakes, so I'm going to have to go back and touch paint up again. So even if it's not 100% perfect at this stage, it's still not a problem. We can always clear that up later. Okay, I'm not going to do a second coat on the shoulder pads. Reason for that is I will do an edge highlight on them once they're actually on the model, so doing it now will just be a case of sort of repeating the step I'm going to do later on anyway. So can move all these out of the way. So right, I've not drilled out my barrels yet in these. In fact, I've just realised I've not put on the casings for the heavy bolters. So let me locate that sprue, just get those snipped and glued, and then we can start with the gun casings. So get me old trusty snips, and what we got? 1, 2. So I actually need 3. And this way, let's try not to launch this halfway across the living room. Just going to check that I've got everything sort of trimmed back as they're meant to be. A few mould lines on these actually, that's not expected. Where's my knife gone? There we go. Yeah, as I said last week, all these have already been sprayed with a grey primer while they're still on the sprue. Not something I'd normally do, but I did it in this instance because I wanted to sort of speed of being able to do a build and actually start painting. There we go. seen the lid for this somewhere. There it is. Something like that. Yeah, there we go. Fits nice and easy. Okay. This Revel modelling glue is so good, but doesn't half fly out of the tube at a rapid rate of knots. Okay. Yeah, he's already done. Cool. I'm going to do for this, I'm going to use a slightly smaller brush, still quite a large brush though. So that's Wargamer Regiment, and I will use, so there's a couple of blacks that I use, Abaddon Black, and also Corvus Black. Now they give two slightly different effects. I find the Abaddon Black is a much more sort of glossy, well well painted, coloured kind of, yeah, nice sort of glossy black. Whereas the Corvus Black is just a little bit, it almost seems a bit chalky, which I really like on vehicles, I really like on my Necrons, but Space Marine weapons for me have to have that. Yeah, doesn't matter what Legion they're from, they have to have that high maintained, because yeah, a bit of mud on the armour or even some furs thrown over the shoulders of Space Wolves is fine, but my goodness, I would not have anything on their bolt rifle which wasn't in the best condition. So I'm going to grab this one here and I'm just going to pop them onto my painting handle just so I can have a little bit more control. will do is actually drill out the barrels of each of these before I paint the actual ends. That'll yeah, I'm not going to do that on camera because I'll spend most of the time stabbing myself in the hand and swearing a lot, which, although the stabby bit you might find amusing, I'd prefer not to yeah, not to let my language get a little bit too too creative on this channel. There we go. And leave the skull and wings and any sort of little detailing hair on the barrel on the main sort of parts of the bolt. I'm going to try and leave that as clear as possible. Now, have I just painted his fingers black? Yes, I have. Oh, typical. No, I've not. It's that's better. Again, you can see here, if I just cut the edges of his fingers, I will go back and just tidy those up later. Now, I was having a look over here. What I thought I'd like to do with these is to paint the main sort of gun chassis here with the gun chassis, bullet casings, whatever you call them, here with the black, as well as the handle with the black. I'm going to leave the actual sort of set of bullets so you can see it better on this side, seeing the hole here, and I'm going to just paint those in with lead belcher when I do the muzzle. I think there's a lot of scope for sort of painting this sort of section on the bolters, really, however you want to do it. You know, if you're, you know, even if you're painting a first founding chapter, each company certainly would make the weapon slightly unique. After all, a second company of reasonably veteran warriors wouldn't want the 8th Company raw recruits getting hold of their bolters. No, thank you. I'm just going to leave the stocks of these as well. I'll do those also in the lead belcher. A little bit under it. I spend so much time concentrating on the sides of these things that I end up forgetting to do the tops. Okay, most of that is going to be lead belcher when I get to it. Nice. I'm going to leave his the handle of his knife because I like to give that sort of a nice leather finish. probably hit that with a bit of Rhinox hide. The other thing though is all the gaps in his power armor here. So just need very carefully picking out. This is a point where it's important that you make sure you keep a really good point on your brush. You can see I've just gone over a little bit there, so I'll go back and tidy that up. I never thought I would be there painting a Space Marine bottom on live on the internet. How the world has got strange and bizarre through these weird times we live in. Yeah. Now that's a whole new YouTube channel, isn't it? Space Marine bottoms and how to paint them. Okay. What I always end up missing is this one here at the backs of the legs. Yeah, the key here is to have just enough paint on your brush. Keep sort of cleaning it as you go. And to really, really take your time with it. Okay, and what I'm just going to do is do the tidy up on that before I move on to the next model. And the reason for doing that is if I don't tidy it up straight away, I will end up forgetting it, and yeah, I'll then find it when I'm trying to do sort of highlights further down the. There we go. Yeah, the problem with this black is it's such a strong colour. But if you do splodge it, like I've done under here, it could need a couple of coats just to. Oh no. And of course try to avoid covering over a bit that you actually want it to be black. Now, it's funny, I was trying to work out then whether I'd actually caught his knee pad. There we go. And oh yeah, those fingers. always worth going back and just double checking everything, because of course now as I'm doing this I can see areas here where I didn't put on the black, and I'm going to stick with my my fine sort of detailing brush for that. Okay. Because I'm probably doing my usual trick here of painting these, and then of course we'll be putting our putting the shoulder pads on them. And no doubt that is going to cover up all that lovely detail, but oh well. Okay. Done. I'm just going to clean that one out and go back to the larger brush. Well, if there's a number of different sigils and designs that go onto these bolters, assault rifle thingies, but I really do like the good old-fashioned double-headed Aquila. And it's interesting history with the Aquila, because back during the pre-heresy, the only chapter that were allowed to actually wear the Aquila on their power armor were the Emperor's children, as a mark of respect from what the Emperor of Mankind saw during the Great Crusade of how they handled themselves in combat. Of course, with Primarch's dissension into madness and their rebellion during the heresy, and looking to follow, was it Slaanesh or Siege? Slaanesh, as the Chaos Gods, when the Emperor decreed that any legion that had fought on the side of humanity during the Siege of Terror could then wear the Aquila. They'd all learned the right for the Aquila, so that basically means that any first founding chapters that were involved on the during the Siege of Terror would have that right. But of course there were a number of first founding chapters that didn't actually make it to the Siege of Terror. Space Wolves were tied up with Prospero. You had the Ultramarines were also sort of bogged down with the defense of Ultramar, and they didn't arrive until after the battle at Heaven's Gate was concluded. So yeah, is it a case that any Space Marine of any chapter that's loyal to the Emperor can wear the Aquila, or Really, should it just be limited to those first founding chapters that were there on that the eve of that fateful and real deciding battle? Love to hear your thoughts on that. Assuming anyone's still. See if anyone's still with me at the moment. So, apologies if you hear some noise in the background. I don't have the luxury of a dedicated painting room, so I am literally in a corner in the living room, and through traffic that makes up my wonderful family, who are ever so patient, giving me time to get on with my ridiculous. I say ridiculous hobby. It's ridiculous for a middle-aged guy to sit here painting children's toys while mumbling absolute rubbish. Still, we all have our little vices, don't we? Okay. Starting to look good. I've not put on any of the little pouches for knives or the bolt pistols that these guys also carry. I'll much prefer to paint those up separately, add them, and then just do the final bits of highlighting once they're on the miniature, and just that way I can get in, I can paint the detail up. Without my crazy shakes getting it all over the rest of the model. And let's go back to painting those gaps in the armour. And tops of the legs of these guys, to me, feel ever so exposed. I suppose you've got manoeuvrability versus functionality. Oh, look at that. Yeah, these guys need to be able to move around on the battlefield. They're not sort of bogged down. You've got your heavy tanks, your Terminators, and the like. Okay, and as we did with our other model, we're just going to take a bit of time to check through. Sorry, just got to have a nice brew from my. That's better. Right. Immediately seeing a bit of hair in the arm, but I missed again. Yeah, that's got it. Let's just tidy up those few splodges. Also noticed on here actually I've missed. This is something that I do quite a lot. That's actually missed the very insides of the legs. I did try painting a set of these Terminators, of these Marines, and actually doing every part as a sub-assembly and painting everything separately, but it just took so long to do that. And hey, when these are on the tabletop, or even when these are in the display cabinet, you know, who's there looking at the inside of the inside leg? To do, just have a little look at our sergeant here with the chain sword. So what I'm going to do on here, still with my fine detailing brush, I'm just going to paint up the exhaust and motor unit for the chain sword here. Played about with these a little bit with the assault intercessors that came as part of Indomitus, and so I quite liked having the default sort of blue grey of the Space Wolf armour. Oh. That's the extended cut of the outro music. It must have slipped into the playlist. So yeah, it's nice to sort of leave these with the armour, and I might have a go at free-handing a little bit of Fenrisian runes onto it. And yeah, we'll do a few sort of highlights. So it's been about how do you highlight black? After all, it's black, isn't it? But yeah, there are a few little tricks and tips that we can have a go at over the next few weeks. Okay. Now I'm much more so. My sergeant, I always just try to make my things like sergeants, any sort of command units, just stand out. So I'm being a lot more careful with this than I perhaps would be some of the regular intercessors. Okay, just checking that. Just really checking in for awkward angles here. Backs of the knees. Again, just looking down here, I've missed the very backs of his legs here, so I'm gonna just tidy that up after I've checked this. So I can't believe I've just done that. Of course, all these boys aren't decapitated. If you're watching last week, I was saying I'm going to actually have all of these guys with open, without helmets on, so I've got a whole range of heads, and I'm going to do a whole sort of session painting in all the faces and different ways of doing that. Yep, that's that bit done. And again, I have splodged the paint a bit more than I meant to. And that is going to be a problem if that shows through there. So, just tidy up there. Back here now, just want to get a bit closer to the insides on his legs. Looking back here, I sort of missed this whole section down here. So, let's dry my brush off a little. focus. Again, I'm trying to avoid painting over the little winged skull here, but it's not a problem if I do, because I'm gonna come back and paint that in a little bit further down the line. So okay, guys. Well, I seem to have just about run out of black paint now, so I think that we'll call it a day there for the evening. I hope you've enjoyed. This edition of Midlife Crisis, and apologies about the technical difficulties at the start. I hope it wasn't too distracting, but yeah, we get there. We'll get better each week, both at painting and at streaming. So yeah, thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that I'll see you again next week for another edition of Midlife Crisis. Thank you. Good night.